Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. I do hope you have been having a good week. Today we will be reading Scientific Discoveries, where Roman and Logan were playing a little game of truth or dare. Nothing could go wrong, right? Logan was standing in front of an abandoned mansion that sat at the end of the city limits. He knew he would regret getting drunk at the party, but he did it anyway. He had chosen to allow himself to relax and trust Roman's judgment. That had been his first mistake. Roman was an amazing friend, but a bit overly dramatic, but he always protected his friends. Roman was also reckless and didn't often think things through. Shifting on his feet, Logan continued to look at the broken iron gate that was supposed to protect the property. When he had gotten drunk, Logan had foolishly agreed to a game of dares, which accumulated in him walking up to this very mansion and knocking on the door. The rumor was that the mansion was haunted by the ghosts of previous owners. Logan did not believe in such an unfounded rumor. In fact, he didn't believe in anything he couldn't study and prove. Thus, the idea that this house had somehow become the residency of an otherworldly specter was simply laughable. Yet, a chill ran down his spine. He remembered the flickering light in the window as he had knocked. He remembered seeing the movement of a shadow. This could easily be attributed to both his inebriated state as well as the fact that human brains were programmed to fill in the gaps of unexplained phenomenon in a way that made logical sense. A curtain pushed by the wind could have easily made his brain believe there was a person there, but Logan would not let that thought go without proof. "This is for scientific purposes," Logan muttered to himself, straightening the strap on his bag as he slid past the iron gate and made his way up to the broken cobblestone steps. He understood there was an inherent mysticism about the night. As stated previously, the brain attempted to fill in gaps it didn't fully understand. This was why young children would see monsters in closets when there was nothing more than a hung coat. Logan was going to prove that was all it had been, a simple trick of his brain. Once again walking up the steps, he knocked on the door, listening for any noise to come from the house. "Can I help you?" Logan almost jumped out of his skin as he heard a voice from behind him. Yes, sorry. My name is Logan, and I came to investigate reports that this house was haunted." A half-truth. He really just wanted to understand what he had seen that night. Rolling his eyes, the other man shook his head. "It is not haunted. I live here, and you can leave." Logan focused on the man in front of him, dressed in almost all black but with yellow accents. Even the gardening gloves he was wearing were bright yellow. "Of course, sorry to bother you." He was going to leave, but their eyes met and Logan got lost in one brown eye and one golden amber eye. "What?" The other man snapped. "Apologies. I was just surprised to see you have heterochromia. It is rather stunning, especially in this light." He hadn't even noticed the scars on the man's face at first, just those two piercing, mismatched eyes. "Really? My eyes are what you're commenting on? What is your game?" Logan looked confused. "I don't have a particular game that I prefer to play. I also don't understand how that pertains to our current conversation." There was silence between the two of them before the other man began to laugh. "Do you always take things that literally?" He sat down the pruning shears, holding out his hand. "You can call me Deceit." "Logan," he introduced again. His brain had lost all thoughts that did not pertain to the man in front of him. "I am aware." A sly smile curled upon his lips, and Logan wondered if there might be some scientific weight to Roman's fanciful idea of love at first sight. "If I'm not intruding too much, might I ask how long you have lived here?" "Very interpersonal questions, aren't you?" "Curiosity is, for better or worse, one of my defining traits." "Then let's play a game. Come back any time. You can ask any question you like about me or the house's history, but they have to be yes or no questions. And I will always answer, but I won't always tell you the truth." "I do not understand how this is a game. We have not defined winning conditions. Also, would your rules not put me at an extraordinary disadvantage?" The smile curled into a smirk, and Logan felt himself swallowing a breath he didn't know he had been holding. "All right. The winning conditions are, within 2 weeks, you have to find out when I moved here and why. Can't make it too easy. And if you win, I will answer any question you have with full and complete honesty. If I lose, I will have gotten 2 weeks of entertainment out of it. Deal? Deceit held out his hand, looking at Logan with a sly smile. Logan took Deceit's hand and began to shake it gently. Deal. May I ask questions not related to the game? I am interested in the history of this mansion as well. He was also interested in the man in front of him, but decided against saying that. Deceit's smile seemed to turn into a more gentle one, a soft nod coming before his words. For now, though, it's getting late. You should probably head home. Logan just nodded weakly. Turning, he began to walk away. He loved a good mystery. He loved a good challenge, but that was not what sparked the flare of excitement in Logan. At least, it wasn't the mystery or the challenge of this deal, but rather that of the man who proposed it. Logan felt his heart skip a beat at the thought of spending more time with Deceit. Maybe he didn't regret listening to Roman. Just this once, one of his ideas had had a favorable outcome. Chapter 2. There had been a few unspoken rules to their little game, something that Logan noticed as time wore on. He wasn't sure he would even call them official rules, but they were there, and Logan felt their presence. Deceit didn't like giving straightforward answers, and he seemed to especially enjoy messing with Logan, so that was the first rule. Logan had to learn Deceit's tells. Without knowing the tells, he would never be sure what information was real and what wasn't. He wasn't sure if he was meant to figure out the second rule, but he had always been a fan of patterns. Deceit would only answer 5 questions related to their game. After the 5th question, he would say the same thing he had said to Logan that first night. It's getting late. You should probably head home. It was like his own way of ending their time for the day, a way of telling Logan that his time with Deceit was up. With these new rules, Logan found himself asking more and more off-topic questions. This helped him learn Deceit's tells, but it also helped him stretch their time together. Logan was curious about the man whose eyes changed with his outfits. He found reasons to stay later with the gardener who answered questions like a metaphorical snake. It was Logan's own game to see how long he could spend with a man who had stolen his attention. Are you the only person who lives here? It seems rather difficult to care for a place so big all by yourself. Yes. He should have known better than to make a statement afterwards. It always muddled Deceit's one-word answers. Logan wasn't sure if he meant yes, it was difficult, or yes, he was the only one. Either way, he pushed on. I personally don't think I would enjoy being alone all the time. Though it might help my productivity, I have found that it can also make things a bit more challenging for my mental health. It can be a challenge. That was another thing about their game, or at least their meetings. Logan had managed to learn a lot about Deceit, his love for the language of flowers, and how many of the most beautiful blooms were poisonous, his adoration for language in general. It was hard to get Deceit talking, but when he did, it was always interesting. Logan had also learned that Deceit had worked for a law firm, something that seemed to contradict Deceit's heavy-handed nature when it came to self-care. Logan was building a picture, piece by piece, and honestly, he thought he had most of it figured out. Logan had put together that Deceit was a man named Janice Aldawala, a lawyer who had an impressive track record and a strong future in his career. Then, suddenly, he left and moved here. The house, it seemed, was an old family home, passed down through generations, that had originally made Logan believe that someone in Janice's family had died recently. But all records he could find stated that Janice had been in possession of the family home for years and had only moved in recently. The move spoke to other motives that Logan had an inkling about. He didn't want the game to end, but he had to ask, "Is that why you left? The loneliness?" From what Logan had read, Janice had made a lot of enemies in the name of his profession, more so than normal for a lawyer. That information had been harder to find. Logan even went so far as to call the law firm posing as a prospective employer. Janice had traded tact for strength, and many people thought him the villain for it. No. That was a lie. Janice was pulling on his gloves, a small tick he did when the conversation got too personal and too close. The normal satisfaction that Logan got from figuring out a puzzle wasn't there, as he instead moved the conversation along to ease Janice's stress. My best friend, Roman, is loud, obnoxious, and sometimes I wonder why I am friends with him. However, he is loyal, and he is always there when I need him to be. He is caring, and I can't imagine how lonely I would be without him as a friend. He sounds like a character. There was a bit of sarcasm in his voice. Logan ignored it. He is, but much like most extroverts, he forced his way into my life. The way you have forced your way into mine. Logan frowned. You could put it that way. Do you mind? Oh, absolutely. This last week and a half of companionship has been dreadful. Logan, thankfully, could tell Janice was teasing. We are nearing the end of our game. What happens after that? Yes, Janice replied with a cheeky smile. Logan rolled his eyes but smiled back. He had a thought, and there was no harm in asking. Even when our game ends, would you prefer if I kept coming to keep you company? He took a step closer toward Janice, watching the hesitance. Janice had always had the upper hand in their games, but Logan had knowledge, and maybe just a little bit of bravado. Yes. Can I start calling you Janice? There was a look of surprise, but a fond smirk fell upon Janice's lips. Yes. For the moment, Logan had the upper hand. It didn't seem like Janice wanted him to have it, though. His eyes shifted over Logan, looking for an opportunity. Logan had no desire to give it to him. Not yet. Are your feelings for me more than platonic? And that had been Janice's opportunity, apparently. He surged forward, kissing Logan. It was a surprise, but not an unwelcome one. Logan was completely taken off guard as Janice held him in place. That had not been a yes or no answer, but Logan happily accepted the kiss, returning it with shy passion. It's getting late. Janice pulled away slowly, his lips twitching to form the last words, but Logan wasn't going to let him, not this time. Can I come in? There was a brief moment of being startled before Janice blinked, a smirk sliding onto his face. He acted like he was debating it before letting go of Logan. Yes. He turned, making his way toward the entrance to the house, and Logan followed. The house might not have been haunted, but Logan discovered something much more interesting. Thank you all for listening. Again, this one was called Scientific Discoveries. I do hope all of you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.